Mean Old Lion Media presents Corner Table Talk.
Welcome to Corner Table Talk. I'm your host, Brad Johnson. Here we are exploring subjects related to food plus drink plus culture. As always, with questions or comments about our show, you can reach me at brad@postandbeamhospitality.com. So the experience of taking in a tight live musical performance can stay with you for hours, days, years, and in some cases, a lifetime. Yes, setting, venue, and what you were doing at that time of your life factor into the equation. On this show, we've asked guests to recall the most memorable live musical performances they've seen, and usually there's a story that leads up to the memory. One of my earliest responsibilities and probably the most fun job I've ever had was booking the artists that would appear and perform at my dad's restaurant, bar, and live music venue, The Cellar, on the Upper West Side of Manhattan through the 1970s and 80s. Those of you who have listened to this show in the past have certainly heard me talk about The Cellar once or twice. The bands, almost exclusively R&B, would play 3 sets per night between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Often 7 or 8 musicians with multiple vocalists would squeeze onto a stage and proceed to turn out the house. And it was a bit of a small stage, but it was fun watching everybody so close together and do such magical things up there. It was on one of these nights, my guest today, Meli'sa Morgan, electrified the room with her sultry yet powerful voice. The kind of voice that can give you chills, as it did me on many occasions. At a certain point during one particular number, the keyboardist, Lisette Wilson, who would go on to co-write and co-produce several of Melissa's hits, jumped in on keyboards and would take the music to a whole different level. If you've ever been in a room when music just hits that next level, there's nothing that quite measures up to that live musical performance when the chills kind of run up and down your spine. So Meli'sa went on to have a very successful music career, scoring a #1 hit in Billboard with the single Do Me Baby, which was written by Prince and Andre Simone. She followed up with Do You Still Love Me and Fool's Paradise, I love that song, as well as one of my favorites, a duet with Kashif, a cover of Love Changes. In all, 2 top 20 albums and 4 top 5 hits. A talented songwriter, Meli'sa has received recognition for her work on other artists' records, including Freddie Jackson, Mary J. Blige, Jay-Z, and LL Cool J. Meli'sa performed as a background vocalist on Whitney Houston's debut album, Whitney, and on tour with her childhood idol, and I'm talking posters all over her walls, Chaka Khan. Most recently, Meli'sa turned to the big screen, appearing in the independent film Footprints of an Angel. I am so pleased to welcome my longtime friend, Queens, New York native, Meli'sa Morgan. Meli'sa.
Hi, Brad.
So nice to have you. So nice to see you.
Wow, I didn't know you know all those things about me.
Well, I know, right? I do a little work. So, Meli'sa, before we get started, I do want to wish well your dear friend, New York native, the songstress Allison Williams, who I know has had some health challenges. So I just wanted to send some good energy out to Allison and say hello to her from us.
Oh, thank you so much. I spoke to her a couple of days ago, and she's off the ventilator, and she's doing well. Her voice is a little raspy. So, and the first thing she asked me about, believe it or not, was my kitty cat, Spirit. She's like, I didn't know you was a cat person all these years. So she's doing well. She's in Winston-Salem healing. And yes, we continually send prayers to her to get better.
Oh,
Yes.
that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear she's on the mend. So cool. So we'll move on. So we start things off with what I call short order questions, just some easy things to get us rolling. So Meli'sa, tell me, what is in heavy rotation on your playlist? What music has your attention these days?
Oh, wow, that is a good question. Adele. For some reason, I like Adele. Um, let's see, who else have we been listening to? Gosh, that is a good question. I've got to think about that. I know Adele and just anything that's on like Heart and Soul. That's what we listen to. We listen to serious music, a lot because I travel coming back from New York to South Carolina. So that's what we listen to. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that Sirius station too. The Heart and
Yeah.
Soul. Yep, play all the oldies.
Yes.
Yep. All right, tell me what's your morning routine look like?
Well, I have to get up because I have to feed the cat. So I get up. When the pandemic hit, unfortunately, something wasn't feeling right. So I went to the doctor and she told me I had a little high blood pressure, but I think it was from the pandemic. And I was staying in New York and I had to come to South Carolina to live here during the pandemic because it was safer. And so they put me on like that little pill. So I take that in the morning at 8:30 every morning. So I wake up, take that, feed the cat.
Are you a coffee person? Tea? What? Smoothie? Green juice? What?
No, no, no. I like apple cider vinegar. I take a teaspoon of that and a teaspoon of black seed oil. And now I'm proud to say my blood pressure is now 125 over 80. So I'm doing much better. And that's what I do. And sometimes I eat some Cheerios.
Cheerios. Okay, I would have not guessed that. I would have. I saw you more as a Frosted Flakes girl, but okay.
I hated Frosted Flakes. Oh my God. Raisin Brands. I love Raisin Brands and Cheerios.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So while we're on the subject, so tell me your favorite weekend breakfast. So if you're going to indulge in something, what might that be?
There is a place called Another Broken Egg. I don't know if you've heard of that place. It's a wonderful breakfast restaurant, and they have lobster cheese grits.
Mm.
That's like my favorite. So a nice weekend breakfast would be us going to Another Broken Egg and lobster cheese grits.
Ooh, that sounds so good. Where is Another Broken Egg? Where is that?
Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, mostly like on the South, but they have many restaurants. Just look it up. Another Broken Egg. It is really excellent for
Oh,
breakfast.
you got me with that.
Yeah.
All right, so best live musical performance you've ever seen.
Oh my goodness. I'd have to go back to when I was a teenager. And I went to see Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah, I'd have to go back to that at Madison Square Garden. I saw like Earth, Wind, and Fire, James Brown. One time I saw Sly and the Family Stone. So I'd have to go back to those shows because they were more, uh, uh, they cared more about the presentation. Yeah, the presentation now is not as grand.
Hmm.
So I go back to the old school days. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing Earth, Wind, and Fire at Madison Square Garden, and between their musicianship, their vocals, the theatrics, the set, I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to top that.
It's so hard to top that. I mean, and now, I mean, you can't, I don't know, the groups now can't come out in those flashy outfits, so colorful with, sequins and stuff. People would laugh at them right now.
Yeah.
They, what are you doing, So, yeah, because now it's like jeans and designer top or Versace or Louis Vuitton or something. It's just not the same.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You know what it makes me think of too, and this takes me to the cellar, but you know how bands like Earth, Wind, and Fire, you knew every word to every song. And if they missed a word you'd be looking, well, that wasn't right in that song. That's not, that's not how that song goes.
It's so funny because I mean that's how I am. Like when I perform, you have to sing it the way the record is, or they look at you like, oh well, where did that come from? Why is she over exaggerating that and living on that? So it's really the attention span now is so much shorter than it was before. You could expand and sing along and stuff. Now if you change anything, they're like, well, why did you do
They're on
that?
it. They're on it. Yeah. So tell me, on that note, what is your most memorable on stage moment of your own?
Believe it or not, Brad, I'm gonna go back to the cellar. Do you remember, God, when Patti LaBelle came and sang with me at the cellar?
I do.
Do you remember
Oh,
that? Yeah,
yeah.
her hairstylist, Norma. That's what her name.
Okay.
Yes, and she used to come to the cellar and hear me sing. And she said, when my birthday comes, I'm going to bring Patty here. We were like, oh, go ahead, girl. We're not paying you no mind. Patty is not coming here. And on her birthday, she brought Patty there, and we got up. Patty came off the stage, and we sang "If Only You Knew." I still have pictures of that. I get chills when I think about that. And me and Patty are still friends to this day, Auntie Patty. And I went on tour with her about 2 years ago in Europe. Yes.
Oh, wow. I'd love to
It-
see those photos.
yes. Oh, I have them. I'll send
Yeah,
them to you.
please do.
Yeah.
Please do. I had Valerie Simpson on the show not too long ago, and she talked about how her and Nick used to love to come up to the cellar to hear you sing. You
Oh,
had
God.
singers that loved to hear you sing.
Valerie. I love her. And I miss Nick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick was so wonderful. I remember one time I went to the Sugar Bar, which reminds me of the cellar.
Hmm.
It does. I went to the Sugar Bar, and we had did something, and I had surgery or something. I had a tooth pulled or a root canal or something. And I got to the cellar, and Nick was there, and he says, Meli'sa, come on up and sing. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. Yeah, I have a root canal. He said, yeah, well, I understand you have the root canal, but that doesn't have anything to do with your voice. You believe that?
No mercy from Nick Ashford. That's funny. That's funny. All right. So complete this sentence for me. I have little patience for.
Lies.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't like people that lie. That's a part of the ignorance that I just didn't grow up with. Yeah.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Uh,
All right. So last one of these, and hopefully this doesn't tax your brain too much or ruin any friendships. But if you had to think of a little band of anyone that you wanted, 4, 5, 6 people, 3 people, 2 people, somebody else on stage to share the stage with you, who might that be, Meli'sa? If you could pick anybody in the world, who, or past or present, who might join you on stage?
Marvin Gaye, Clifford. Do you remember Clifford? He used to sing background at the cellar. He
I
passed away.
do.
And it was only me and him that sang background on Do Me Baby in the studio with Paul Lawrence. So Clifford, because he was just such a great singer. I'm going to talk about just singers.
Hmm.
I miss Johnny. Timmy Allen on bass. Yes. Oh, gosh. And who else? That's hard. A guitar player. I want to think. Well, Lisette Wilson, of
Lisette
course.
on keys.
Yes, on keys. And
Maybe
I
Kevin Robinson, Mike Campbell,
Kevin. Oh my God, Mike Campbell. Both of them on guitar. Yeah, and on saxophone, Najee. Yes,
Najee. How
yes.
about a drummer?
Pootie Bell.
Yes.
Come on,
Yeah.
Pootie Bell.
Love him. Well, that band would continue to rock the house. So let's jump in here, Meli'sa. You look fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Take care of myself. Don't eat meat. I haven't eaten meat in years. Don't drink. Stopped drinking years ago. I partied when I was young, so I'm over that. So, doing well. I'm at my house here in South Carolina. I still have my place in New York,
Hmm.
and we are building a house down here, my dream home. So, doing
So
well. Yeah.
tell me a little bit about South Carolina. How did you end up there, and did you say you're in Columbia or where?
I'm actually in Aiken, South Carolina. And I came to Aiken, South Carolina because my grandmother, my father's parents, they lived here. They were in Graniteville and all that. And they moved actually to this house that I'm in. And I used to come here every summer when I was a little girl until I was 18, about 17, 18. And I would spend it with my grandmother, Mama Ciola. And when she passed away and my dad passed away, they left the house to me and I renovated the whole thing. And I just thought I would just come down here and just enjoy South Carolina in the summer. Who knew a pandemic was going to come? And I would wind up living here and saying, thank God I had this house
Right.
safe and away from New York. And I had a backyard where we could breathe and all that good stuff. So,
That
yeah.
sounds nice. So, do you think you're going to continue to spend extended time there, just bounce back and forth between New York, or what do you think?
I'm going to tell you, I've never given up my place in New York because I'm going to tell you a little thing. I paid $29,000 for that place, and I'll never find another place for that price.
No. In
not,
America, much less New York.
not in New York. So I've never given that place. It's just a one bedroom, beautiful condo that is in Queens, and I'm never giving that up. So nice view of the airport, LaGuardia, and I'm like 5 minutes from LaGuardia and 15 minutes from JFK. So you couldn't ask for anything better if I have to fly out anywhere.
Hmm.
I think I will be staying in South Carolina more. We're talking. I also have a place in Aruba,
I know. I want to ask you about that too.
but I will definitely stay in South Carolina, and I'm probably build my dream home here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good at real estate. I don't know where I got it from, but the place where I'm going to build my dream home, it's like a community. It's called Summer Lakes, and I don't know. I just like this place, and I went in and I got it for like $12,000, and now you can't even get in there for less than $500,000.
Wow. Wow.
That's crazy. I've got to build on it. Yeah.
Who knew? Meli'sa Morgan, the real estate impresario. Um, but it's interesting because a lot of the people that I know that have lived in New York and LA, the two cities that I've lived in, are looking for those kind of experiences in the South. Folks have moved to just outside of Atlanta or different Nashville, different places around the South, and are enjoying that kind of different lifestyle there and a little bit more space.
Yes, and Aiken, where I am, I think there's 35,000 people here. But the great thing about Aiken is that I'm 20 minutes from Augusta, 40 minutes from Columbia, 2 hours from Atlanta, 2 hours from Charlotte, 2 hours and a half from Myrtle Beach. So I'm centrally located.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, great.
I
Yeah,
love that. So
yeah.
Aruba, I saw that you have a place there. So how did you discover Aruba? And besides the sea, sun, sand, and warm weather, what was it about Aruba that said this is I want a place here?
I have a cousin. He lives in Washington, D.C. And he had went to Aruba and he fell in love with it and he bought something there. And he said, Meli'sa, do you remember my girlfriend Darlene?
Of course, yeah.
Me and Darlene went to Aruba, to hang out with James, and we fell in love with it. So me and Darlene actually bought there because we've been BFFs since single digits. Both come from 34th Ave. They call us the girls from 34th Avenue. So, so I could trust her, with my life. So we bought there over 20 years ago.
Mm.
Can you believe that? And I've been going there so long that they've given me honorary citizenship. And I just love going there. I couldn't go in 2020 because of the pandemic, and that's probably like one of the only years I didn't go. But
Hmm.
recently went in December, and I just love it. So if I had I don't know, $1 million this year, I'd probably get me a better place there and live there for like 4 months out of the year.
Hmm. Are you a water person, Meli'sa? Do you love the Caribbean?
I do. I do. I love the water and I love Eagle Beach because it's healing. It's healing. For some reason, that beach is healing. Anything that's going on with you, I tell you, anything on your skin or stuff, you go in that water, you come out and it's gone. Yeah. So it's more than just vacation.
It's healing.
It's healing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I also know that you have a special guy in your life, your fiance Sebastian. So I'd like to know, as would many other men in America and beyond, what does a guy have to do to be lucky enough to land Meli'sa Morgan?
That is so weird because everybody asks me that, like, what did he have? He had commitment. He had commitment. He wasn't in the industry, but he believed, and he was like, whatever you're doing that I can help, I'll do it. And he's just been excellent as a friend, as my companion. And he's really good with computers. He's helped me really jumpstart my own production company that my new song and everything is coming out on. And those are things that I don't think that I would have done without help.
Hmm.
You know, it, it, he drives the house so I can sleep. uh, he travels with me and he just makes sure everything is good, not only personally in my life, but business wise. And do we argue and fuss and fight? Of sure.
Hmm.
You can't have a relationship without a little bit of an argument, you know what I'm saying? But, we get over that. The fact that we can get over it and still look at each other and say, I appreciate you being here and I love you. That's important to me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm
Yeah.
I'm very happy to hear that you have somebody in your life that's that supportive, because I know he has a good partner in you. So let's take a step back here, and I want to talk a little bit about the period that we spoke of in the introduction, New York City in the '80s and the Cellar. I saw some of the best live musical performances of my life in that intimate room. I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
about a place that really couldn't hold more than a couple hundred people, and that was wall to wall, with no space to, do much else in. 3 sets a night, 3 times per week. And playing that regularly, Meli'sa, what I observed that the shows, the sets just got tighter and tighter and tighter. It was just practice to me. I mean, did it have that impact on you? And does it play into your live musical performance these days? I mean, having had that kind of training coming up, because I look at musicians these days and I see them mostly in the studio, not a lot of live performance, very few musicians on a stage. And it was just different back then. You played with musicians and you sang and you performed. Was that kind of every night rigor good for you?
Yes, actually, for me, it was because it became my school. It became my school of performing. And I say that because when you're in that kind of situation with that caliber of artists, for that long, like you said, 3 sets a night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you start learning not only about the person, but you start learning about the music. If you're smart enough, you start listening to what the guitar player does. You start listening to what the keyboard player is playing. You start knowing, okay, this note doesn't go with that note. Okay, if I do it this way, that's going to get the audience. If I do it this way, that's going to make them bored. You know what I'm saying? So you start learning how to be the best that you can be. And that only happens through experience and practice. So now, as the celebrity professional, recording on it. Oh, Sebastian, they talked about you.
Sebastian, shout out. What's up?
He's walking through. But now when I go in and I have rehearsals with new bands and new musicians and stuff like that, um, that that teaching and going to Juilliard School of Music, learning theory, music theory, I can actually sing guitar parts. I don't play drums, but I can actually voice drums and I know everything that each musician should play to make the show or the song better. I know all my notes. I can hear when it's bad. I can hear when it's good. And a lot of people don't have that now. Yeah.
And you would attribute that ear, that training, to the repetition of sets, so many sets in a week. I mean, that's, hundreds of hours of music that you're performing live on stage. So you trace that back to that period.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Like I said, it was my experience. It was my school,
Mm-hmm.
school of performing arts. I didn't go to high school for that, but I went to the cellar.
But let me set that up for our audience who never happened to go to the Cellar. So the stage at the Cellar was about 4 feet, we'll say, from the bar. And Johnny Kemp, in fact, it was Johnny who first told me about you, would leap from the stage to this long 40-foot L-shaped bar that we had that would be packed with cigarettes and ashtrays and brandy snifters and purses and what have you. There were no cell phones in those days, so there weren't any cell phones on the bar. But believe me, there was plenty to walk around. And he would tiptoe and ballet and dance and skip with a microphone and sing. And my father would be looking at him with a scowl and just, if he knocks one of those champagne glasses over, he's going to pay for it kind of look. But amazingly, he never did, Meli'sa.
Never did. And it was just amazing. The showmanship. That's what it's called. The showmanship that he had. I just appreciate that. And I would watch him and Timmy and just how they would pull the audience in. And that was one of the lessons that I learned in the cellar. Even if people are far away from you, it is your job to pull them in to what you're doing and what you're thinking. And that was just a great lesson that I still have till today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna use a little bit of a sports analogy, but tied into to music. You know, watching you guys back then, and I'm talking about Keith Sweat, Allison Williams, Timmy Allen, Kevin Robinson, Platinum Hook, Bobby Douglas. You know, there was some just amazing, talented performers on that stage, but you guys had not yet been really truly discovered. I know that you had a single come out when you were 16, but for the most part, to me, it was like watching college basketball players play with all their heart, and they compete so hard. They haven't gotten that money yet at the professional level. They don't have a shoe deal, at least not back then they didn't. But there's just a level of like going for it that you had. And that was what I got from you guys back then. To see all of you up on stage whose names were not nationally known and internationally known, just kind of discovering your talent and feeling your way around it. That to me was like, man, I get chills as I'm thinking about it now and talking about it.
Yeah, we wanted to do our best, and we thought like, if we do this in the next level, we can't go nowhere but up. Now listen, I remember the time when you fired me. Do you remember when you fired me?
Well, I'll let you tell it. I might have a different version of that, but go ahead.
Well, I was with Johnny Kemp and Timmy and all of them. And, you know, I just felt like Meli'sa Morgan should have her own band. Me and Lisette, we have our own band and we'll do it. And I said, Lisette, we have really got to rehearse and we've got to get this band together and we've got to do this because we got to have 3 shows a night. And I'm going to talk to you about the 3 shows a night too. We got 3 night and we've got to do this right. And Lisette, you know, we had come from, I think we were working with Chaka Khan, you know, and we had come off of Chaka Khan. We was flying high. She said, oh, I got this. We're just going to do this. And we just put the musicians together and said, this is the song. And I said, Lisette, we got to rehearse. You know, it's not going to be right. And honey, we got up on that stage on that Thursday, and on that Friday, we was just horrible because nobody had really rehearsed. Lisette hadn't rehearsed. We knew the songs, but we didn't gel as a band. And Brad fired us, rightfully so. He fired us. And I tell you, I was in tears. I was like, I ain't never been fired before, you know, not like that. And Lisette said, you know what? I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to make it up to you. We're going to go and we're going to rehearse. We're going to rehearse. We're going to rehearse. And then we're going to invite him to a rehearsal. And he's going to hire you again. And I said, he's not going to hire. He's not even going to come to the rehearsal. And sure enough, we rehearsed. We got a rehearsal studio and we rehearsed and rehearsed. And we invited you to the studio. And you said, you better be good, Meli'sa. You better be good because this is not like you. This is not like you. And you came to the rehearsal studio and we flew you away.
that is exactly how I remember it. Yeah. And you know what that changed for me too, Meli'sa, was I then made a policy that anytime I was going to hire a band, I had to see them rehearse first. And yeah, because up until that time, I think they would send me a tape, and you know I might go see them play somewhere else, but I would ask to go to a rehearsal. And I first saw Keith Sweat that way. He was in the basement of his, you know, I think it was his mom's place up in Harlem, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I implemented that with you. And you know what? I went on tour. That was one of my first tours. Freddie Jackson with Levert. I mean, this was after Do Me Baby. And then my next tour was with Keith Sweat.
Yeah, Keith. Yep.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've mentioned some of the people that, you know, that would come into the room as an audience. Sometimes they would jump up on the stage, But folks like Ashford and Simpson, Phyllis Hyman, the Isley Brothers, Stevie Wonder, the radio executives, Vaughn Harper, Jerry Bledsoe from our favorite station, WBLS, and all
Yeah.
of our friends, the regulars, you know, I mean, it was that kind of a community vibe. Did you feel at the time, Meli'sa, that that step was necessary to secure a record deal, that the exposure at a live music venue place like the Cellar? Were you thinking at the time, this is what I need to do to get a record deal? Or was there some other motivation to perform like that live?
Well, to me, it was the experience at first, and everybody's, oh, you should play the cello. Because I just want to say there was McKell's. I remember there was Under the Stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I performed at McKell's a couple of times. It was different for me because I just felt like McKell's was more jazz. And it just wasn't my setting. And when people, you ought to go to the cellar across the street. It's like, across the street? What's happening across the street? And I think Trevor Gale took me there. He was a famous drummer that played behind a whole bunch of artists, and he brought me to the cellar, and that's when I saw Johnny Kipp and all of them, and I really really enjoyed the atmosphere. And I was like, oh, they're not going to hire anyone. And for some reason, I don't know, Timmy knew me, and he told Johnny Kemp that he should have a female, and they called me, and that's how that happened. But I always felt like when I saw the Isley Brothers there, or like when Patty came, or somebody like that. I think Chaka came one time. Vesta came.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that these people would catapult you to the next level. It was because of Vesta coming to the cellar that I got to sing behind Chaka Khan. So that took my career to another level. Then after singing with Chaka Khan, then the Kashif came, and Melba and Hush Productions and all that. So it was a place that if you stayed true to the game, you could move up in levels in your career.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk about Do Me Baby, because I listened to I watched your Unsung, and I didn't I never knew your dad, and I know that he had a very important role in your life. You and your dad were really really close. He was very supportive of you and your career.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity to perform Do Me Baby was presented to you, you had some resistance to it at first. So talk about that a little bit. Why? What were you were concerned about your dad and his reaction as you as a female kind of being the aggressor. Now we're talking about 1980, what? 86. 86. So music was a little different then, but tell us a little bit about how you were concerned, how your dad would feel about you singing Do Me Baby.
I come from gospel singing. My father heard me sing gospel and heard me sing cover songs, at shows. But when Do Me Baby came, he had knew a little bit about Prince, and he just, he didn't want me to be the floozy, sexy, take her clothes off kind of singer. So he I was worried that he would think that I was going in that direction, selling myself and not leaning on my beliefs in order to be famous.
Mm.
And so that was really important. So when I went to talk to him, I told him about Do Me Baby, because, back then, the Patti LaBelle's and the Shakas and stuff wasn't singing Do Me Baby. It wasn't like Cardi B type of era. So I went to him, I told him, I said, they want me to sing this song, and it's called Do Me Baby. And, what do you think? And, he was like, I let him listen to the song. And he says, well, baby girl, here's my first question to you. Can you sing the song? And I said, oh, well, yeah, I can sing the song. That, he said, you can sing the song and do the song justice? I said, yeah, I can sing the song. He said, well, then go in there and sing the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because I think he trusted that I wouldn't lose my morals with singing a song like that, and that made me feel really good. And that's what we did. Me and Clifford went in and with Paul Lawrence, and we sang Do Me Baby.
Paul Lawrence, a great producer. Yeah, that was just a great record. But you touched on something that was going to bring up my next question, and that is, when you look today, Meli'sa, at the landscape of female artists, and not to put anyone down. Obviously, times change, and we're both a little bit older now, and you tend to look at what comes after you as not quite the way we did it whenever that was, but
Right.
when you take a song like WAP, and some of the antics of performers on stage these days, particularly females, in light of what you just described about your hesitation with Do Me Baby, back in the 80s, it's obviously become very provocative now. But what's your
Yeah.
feeling about that? Where do we go from here? Is it too much? Does it take away from the art when you put all of that in it? Or is that just me being old?
Um, Here's my thing. I'm with you on where do you go, because as much as you want it to be concentrating on the music, the image now is everything, because the kids nowadays have such short attention span with internet, with phones, with Hulu, and just everything, quickly being presented to. I mean, even movies now. Nobody even wants to go to the movie theater. It's like, oh, I'm not even gonna go to the movie theater because it's gonna be out next week on Netflix. So it does bother me, because it seems like after the high of showing everything, they really have nowhere else to go. And I've seen it happen over and over and over and over again. And it you just have that audience that you have, and nothing else. Now, if you have a huge audience, then good for you. Millions and millions of people will watch you, and you will think that your career is moving and elevating, but really it's not. It's staying in the same place. So what happens is that they have this big hit, they have this big moment, and then they just stay right there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Then they perform and they do a couple of things, and we have seen that with some of the artists that have even passed away. That after that there was nothing, and that kind of scares me. I like Nicki Minaj, because I think she went just far enough, but then she said no more. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and whereas some of these are they going too far, and then like you said, there's nowhere else to go. So then they start doing some endorsements and stuff like that, and then what? Because then the music starts becoming less, than the image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good answer. And it's also very produced, I'll say. When someone hears Meli'sa Morgan, your voice is very identifiable, and that's the thing that stands out. It's like, oh, that's Meli'sa Morgan. I know that immediately, and vocalists like
Oh,
you, Chaka or Aretha Franklin, or, certain vocalists, you immediately identify. These days I have a harder time. I'll just leave it at
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's true. And I want to talk about something that's coming up. I know you're going to mention it, but there's the song "Footprints of an Angel" that's coming out in about a month, and we went back and tried to figure out what we needed to do to keep R&B alive, but bring it up to now. And we decided to pick something that was written by Nick Asher and Valerie Simpson, and we had to go through Valerie to get it approved. It took about a year.
Hop Silk, right?
she she's not that easy. I mean, we had to go through Sony, and then it was this one
Yeah.
and that one. Finally, I just said, you know what? Let Valerie hear it, and let me hear what Valerie has to say.
Hmm.
And she heard it, and she texted me back, and she said, I approve the song.
I love
You
that.
know,
I love that.
so yeah, I can't wait till the world hears it. We do the video like next week, and it has taken like a year and a half, almost 2 years to get it approved, but we're ready to
Can
go.
you share
Yeah.
the title of the song?
It's the same title as the movie that I'm starring in. It's called Footprints of an Angel, because they wanted me to write the theme song
Hmm.
for the movie. And it's I play a mother. Yeah. I play a mother to a young lady that she was out in the streets doing the wrong thing. and she cleaned up her life, and she came back to her Nana.
Mm-hmm.
That's me, Nana. But by the time she came back, she found out she had cancer.
Oh, well,
Uh,
all right.
yeah. So I'm really her footprints of an angel.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look
Yeah.
forward to that. And the bringing up Valerie and her having to to give you rights to use her music brings up my next subject, because Nick and Val were really astute when it came to publishing rights and songwriters' rights when they were
Yeah.
making all that great music early on with Motown and every other artist, including themselves. They owned their publishing. And initially, when you without getting into too much detail, because I know this is a well-worn story, but you initially signed with Hush, and I know there was some discrepancy, we'll say, about where money was or was not. I know Kashif said about Hush, we never knew where the money was. But that was kind of like the way that music business was done. It was just, when you were represented by a management company that, kind of took care of everything, they would triple dip. I know I had that experience. I managed TLC, Norm Nixon and I, for a short period of time. We helped them break their recording contract with Arista, but they were unfortunately a very sad example of a lot of hands in the pot and not a lot of money left at the end of the day for the
Yeah.
artist. So, in reflection, Meli'sa, what you've done well since then. You've been able. You have real estate. You obviously have managed and done okay. But looking back on that period, what would you say you might have done differently, or what might you how might you instruct a young artist these days in terms of what to look out for?
Oh, okay. So let me tell you about Hush. Yeah. So after who was it? Kashif. Yes, I went and signed with Hush. They actually signed me the day after we did Broadway with Gladys Knight in the Pits. Yeah, and I was singing with Kashif, and Charles and Bo came up to me and said, okay, you sang background with Shaka, and you sang background with Kashif, and don't you think it's time to do your own thing? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, come to the office. That was actually on Sunday, and they said, come to the office tomorrow morning. And I came to the office that Monday morning, and they actually signed me on the spot. Yeah, they signed me on the spot. And my first deal with them, because I can break it down a little bit with you, was $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $10,000. And for me, that was like, okay, I'm rich. Who knew? I was signed with Capitol because it was a production deal. They said, you're going to be, on the label, Capitol's label, because we have a production deal with them, and we're going to pay for everything. Go in the studio. So me and Lisette had unlimited time in the studio to record. Once the record came out and it was hit, we flew everywhere. They paid for everything. It was just absolutely wonderful. Now, then it came to the publishing, because we had co-wrote most of the album, and they said, okay, so what we're going to do is sign you to Hush Music, and we're going to pay you $2,000 a month for your publishing. So my deal wasn't as bad as most. At least Lisette got 2,000 and I got 2,000, because they wanted those songs, the Fool's Paradise, the
Mm-hmm.
Do You Still Love Me, all that. So they signed me to that, and I got the 2,000. Then they also signed me to management. So let's get that. They were producing me. They had me with the record label. They had my publishing, and then they signed me to management. So they were getting 20% of that. What happened, and this is what woke me up, is that after Do Me Baby, I went on tour. I toured with Freddie Jackson. I toured with Levert. I toured with Keith Sweat, as I told you, and some of, Billy Ocean back then. And when I came back from touring, I went to the office and I said, okay, because they said, okay, we're going to take care of everything on the tour and handle everything. And then when you get back, you'll get your check. And when I came off of touring for basically the whole year, they gave me a check for $5,000. And I said, okay, where's the rest of my money? Because I've been on tour for months. You know what I'm saying? And now I want to move. I want to move to Manhattan. I want to get out of my parents' place and all this. And I had no money. So this is the key. Chaka Khan had introduced me to her accountant named Marvin Zoltz. Uh, because something had happened and she wanted to dock me. And I said, well, if you're going to dock me, I want to meet the person that's going to dock me. And she actually introduced me to her accountant and said, go to him and talk to him because I don't want to talk to you about it, Meli'sa. And because I think I was late for one show and she docked me. So I actually went to Marvin's office and talked to him. And he said, well, this is why we're docking. I said, it's unfair, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, you know what? When you have your own record deal and you're your own artist and you're running things, you come to me, and if somebody is late for your show, I'll dock them for you, right? So I went to him, and he actually went to Hush Productions and audited them for me. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, $35,000 appeared. Those are like life lessons that happened to me. From that point on, I got my publishing back, because then I didn't want to deal with them. I got out of the management thing with them because they were supposed to make me $50,000 for the year. And because of what happened, I only got $35,000. So I fired them with that. And then I took over my own stuff. I got my own publishing with ASCAP. I made sure all my stuff was together, my writing and everything. And I started basically managing my own stuff with Marvin, my accountant. So here's my advice to anyone that's coming up in this industry. Be careful of signing away your money maker, because your music and your writing is one of the key things that is going to make you money all through your career. Day, to this day, no one can use Do You Still Love Me, Fool's Paradise, anything like that without me getting paid.
Good for you. Well, I'm happy that that's how that story has ended
Yeah.
up for you. Because we both know, many stories and many
Oh,
instances where that has not been the case, and artists don't get paid for some of their biggest and most successful music,
yeah.
and that music becomes ownership of that music becomes an annuity. In other words, something that
Yeah,
continues to pay you dividends throughout your career, whether you're performing or not.
that's right. Every month, like clockwork, I get royalties from three different companies
Hmm.
because I own my own music and my own publishing.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Meli'sa, I want to, just quickly, I want to end certainly on a where you are now, because I look at your life, Meli'sa, what I know of you as just a beautiful success story. But we both know when you've lived enough life that, and they say that, it's the losses that make you smarter, make you stronger. And I believe that's true. We all learn from that, or they take us down, right? Either we learn from it and we change what we need to change, or we take the lesson and improve, or in some cases it can take us down. Nothing has taken you down. You were without a record company for a while. You had a marriage that didn't work. Life just has its way. You lost your dad. We go through these things in life, and yet here you are, beautiful, strong, owning the stuff that you own, getting ready to go back out on the road and perform. You've been performing. The pandemic, obviously put a pause on that, but you've got dates lined up, a movie coming out. I mean, your career is just where it should be. And I just think of the word perseverance when it comes
Mhm.
to you. Does that resonate for you? Does that sound right?
Yeah. It was a line that my father always used to say to me and my stepmom. The first law of nature is self-preservation. And if you don't take care of yourself, then you're lost. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you have to do. So that's what the giving up the drinking. The thank God that I was never on any kind of drugs or anything like that. I've always been very strong in that area because I've seen the ruin that it has done to so many of my
Mhm.
friends. But eating healthy and just the stress of this injury, because with losing a record deal with maybe people not calling you for the things that you want. You have to do other things. You just have to look at life like, this is what I need to do, and this is God's plan. Because if it's not God's plan, then I just believe it's not in my life. So I just know that everything is a building process. No matter where you are in your life, you just have to keep building, keep building, keep building, keep building. And as long as I stick to that, I'm happy. Give me a little water in a room, I'm
You're
good.
good. And it's funny because Ambassador Shabazz and I just yesterday were talking about self-preservation. And I
Yes,
and I just every time I think about those two words, I think about what they tell you when they're giving you instructions on an airplane. They tell you to put your air mask on first, before you
yes,
start trying to save even your child. You have to make sure that you have the air to breathe in order to help
yes.
somebody else. But I think that's what we're talking about here, right? You take care of yourself and you try to, move away the stuff that is not necessary and not helping you in your life and move towards the things that are.
Exactly, exactly. And if you do that, you really can't do wrong, because it's about yourself and what you feel on the inside. If your insides ain't good, you can't. I can't get on the stage and perform and send all that energy out to thousands of people if my insides is corrupt. It just is not going to happen. And I've seen people perform, and you go, "What the heck is going on up there?" They told a story a while ago, and I couldn't believe it. And I just recently did a show with her in Connecticut at Foxwood, where Stephanie Mills, which I love her to death, and she was going through something, and they said she turned her back to the audience and performed the whole time because her ex was in the front row. I mean, just toxic stuff inside of you. And look at her now. She's turned that around on the verses. She's helping someone that she sees something that's not right. And I love Chaka, but we all know that performance was not our best Chaka moment, Auntie Chaka. But you know what I'm saying? To see her give like that after what she went through,
Mhm.
that's what we strive for. We strive for being the best that we can be, to give to someone else.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What would you say is your biggest challenge these days?
My biggest challenge is not giving up and saying, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this. Let me just move on and live my life. Sometimes I have to say, okay, no, I'm not done. I'm not done. Yeah, that's my biggest challenge, because, I do have the number one hits. I do have a career of performing. I do know many people in the business. I do have my publishing in order. You know what I'm saying? I do own real estate. And it's like, okay, do I want to get back in this game again? Like with this single. Now to do a single, it costs so much, and now it's independent, and people are talking $40,000-$50,000 to work a single. It's like, ah. Do I want to get back into this? I don't know. Do I just want to keep my money and just, so it's not giving up.
That's funny, but I get it. I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, damn, Aruba, feet up, pina colada, a lot of other things you can do here. But no, no, music is your love. So, on that note, before we wind down, tell me about what you have coming up. I think you've got a gig coming up with Marion Meadows and a bunch of dates coming up, some travel. I know you've got a few hobbies up your sleeve. So share a little bit of that with us before we let you go.
Yes, February 14th, Bethesda, Maryland, at Bethesda Jazz and Blues Club. I'm going to be with Marion Meadows, so that's wonderful. Like I said, we're doing video next week for Footprints of an Angel. I'm very excited about that. The movie Footprints of an Angel, I have one more scene to shoot on January 22nd. They just beefed up my character, so I'm happy about that. And that comes out, I think, the end of March, April of 2022. They just called me for something at the Apollo, so we'll see how that goes. I do this thing called Fruit Six by Meli'sa Morgan, and it is like edible arrangements, but it's how I do it. And it's wonderful because now I'm associated with it's called Deshawn's, and it's Deanna Brown's husband, and her. It's their restaurant in Augusta. And if you don't know who Deanna Brown is, that's James Brown's daughter. And she is one of my best friends here in Augusta. So I go to their restaurant for like Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, and I do my fruit sticks by Meli'sa Morgan. And that's just a wonderful thing that they have me be.
Now,
Because,
I have to write that down. What's the name of their restaurant?
Deshawn's. Yeah.
Deshawn's. Okay. That's a good one. Augusta, GA. Now, James Brown has talked about that enough. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
writing that down.
Yeah, it's like it's considered the Aiken, Augusta area, and it's called Deshawn's, and they have the best crab legs and seafood and everything like that. And I would go to their house because they have a pool, and I go swimming. And Deanna would have a girls thing. She's, girl, make your chocolate dipped strawberries, and I'd make it for the girls, and she loved it. And she just said, why don't you just do something in the restaurant and do Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day? So I do that with them whenever I can. And now girlfriends are calling me saying, we have a girlfriends like Meli'sa, will you get fruit sticks? So, I do that, just out of fun. And that's not about the money because, you could pay. It's the money that I make as an artist compared to that is not the same, but it's just the fun of seeing smiles on people's face by eating a little fruit.
Yeah, eating a little fruit. Well, Meli'sa, I have to say, that your energy through the years, going back to the early 80s when I first met you right up to today, to see your beautiful smiling face and the energy that I just feel from you has always been what I feel from you today. And I personally want to thank you for so many nights of just thrilling the room in the way that you did back in the day and that you continue to do. And you've definitely left a memorable impression for me in my life. And I just really wanted to thank you for that and taking the time today for joining me.
Oh, same here, Brad. I mean, Brad was the ladies' man. He had all the models come. It's like, who is this model and who is that model? Are they coming to see us? No, girl, they're coming to see Brad.
They just thought I could feed them.
It's just a wonderful time in my life and in my career. And thank you for, the School of the Cellar being my experience, coming up in the industry. And I tell you now, to this day, I wanted to share this to you. I will only do one show a night because of the Cellar. I will do 2 shows when it comes. No, I won't do it. Been there, done that. I did 3 shows a night coming up for like 2 or 3 years of my whole career. Won't do it, but I enjoyed it while I was doing it. I was younger then, and life was just good. And I'm so thankful for the experience of you, your family. They were always wonderful to us. They treated us, not like we were employees. They treated us like we were part of the family. Always, you okay? You need anything? They would always make sure that the guys left the room when I had to get out, gotta get dressed. I remember your mother saying that. So thank you so much for being a part of my life in that way. I thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that, Meli'sa. Thank you for that. It's great to see you. Hope to see you soon.
Corner Table Talk is hosted by Brad Johnson, produced by Brad and Linda Ailes Johnson. Theme music, Life Goes On by Bryce Vine. Executive producer, Ken Johnson. Find the Corner Table Talk podcast wherever you get your podcast. Follow, subscribe, rate, and leave a comment. Corner Table Talk is a Mean Old Lion Media production.